halfway past or just past the halfway mark for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There's something stunning you need to hear, some new research that I need to share with you. According to the American Cancer Society, African American women are dying from the disease more than any other group. It's a shocking finding because for years, women that are African American or black have been diagnosed with the disease at a much slower rate than white women. I want to bring in a very special guest. She's someone I adore. CNN White House correspondent Athena Jones. You know her for her amazing political reporting. But I need to pause and let you know that this beautiful young woman is a two-time breast cancer survivor. Honey child, I'm going to not fall apart while I talk to you about this because this is an important thing. You wrote this incredible article in Self Magazine sharing your story because you want other people to learn from it and perhaps not go through what you went through. In 2012, you had a doctor, we'll start there, you had a doctor who believes in getting that early baseline. You were too young to get a regular screening for mammogram, but he wanted you to get that screening, and that's when you found out you had breast cancer.
That's exactly right. This was 2012. I was 36 years old. I do not have any history of breast cancer in my family, so this is not something that was at all on my mind. Luckily, a colleague I was working with at the time had given me a great recommendation for a gynecologist who was a young woman, very close in age to me. And this woman happened to believe, I mean, I got lucky in being linked up with her. She happened to believe in having a baseline, what she called a baseline mammogram at 35 or 36, just as an early test. She wasn't saying we should start getting tested every year, starting at 35 or 36, but she thought it was a good idea to get a baseline mammogram, have a test that you could compare future mammograms to starting at 40 or later. And so I went in at 36, and really, Michaela, I was going in to get a prescription for birth control. I was dating a new guy, and I was really excited about him, and I wasn't thinking about a mammogram. She said, "Why don't you do this?" I said, "Sure." And much to my surprise, they found these spots on the mammogram that were calcifications that were an indication of what is called extensive ductal carcinoma in situ, which is a non-invasive form of breast cancer.
And so you ended up opting for a double mastectomy, and that recovery, which I know was probably sobering for someone your age. And then a few years later, you felt lumps and you got a dreaded second call.
That's right. I mean, I wasn't expecting it the first time, and then I got a double mastectomy. I had done the gene testing and found that I didn't carry the BRCA genes that would have left me predisposed to the disease. And based on several consultations with other doctors, we determined I didn't need, to do tamoxifen, which is hormone therapy, or radiation or chemo. I thought that getting a double mastectomy would be enough. But in the end, it appears that a few malignant cells were left behind, and they continued to develop into what turned into invasive breast cancer the second time. The first time, I did the double mastectomy because it was extensive. It was throughout my left breast. It wasn't going to be easy to go and sort of pick out where the cancer was. And I went ahead and did a double mastectomy, so I thought I'd just get rid of the problem. Unfortunately, that didn't work, and I got the news when I was out on the campaign trail on the casino floor at a casino in Las Vegas, and I learned this news and found out I was going to have to go through this all again. And this time, because it was the invasive kind, the kind that can actually spread and kill you, I was going to have to do the chemotherapy for 4.5 months and then do 7 weeks of radiation.
People, you need to understand, she did 4.5 months of chemo, 7 weeks of radiation. She was doing this while she was doing daily live shots for you on your TV. She was working for CNN and covering the news. Athena, I don't even know how you did it. Is it because you needed something else to dominate your life? You didn't want the cancer to be the only story in your life?
I think that's definitely it. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing, but I also happen to be, I guess, a natural optimist. I feel like if you're going to have to deal with the situation anyway, you might as well have the best attitude you can have about it at the time. And my stepbrother is a doctor, and he said early on, he said, really, attitude matters a lot.
It really does.
So I decided I was going to approach it with a positive attitude.
I've only ever known you. I've only ever known you to have a smile on your face. One last thing. What is your message for women out there right now?
Well, my message is that, you know, in consultation with your doctor, consider getting tested early. Maybe just one screening at an earlier age than you might have otherwise done. A baseline screening, it doesn't hurt unless it's going to be cost prohibitive. I certainly think that it's worthwhile. You never know what you might catch. And if you do find that you catch something, don't be afraid. You'd be surprised what you can handle when you're actually going through it. The anticipation of treatment and then surgery and all of that is often much worse than when you're actually going through it. In the moment, you find that you have the strength to do it. But I just encourage women to be aware of how common breast cancer is. Pay attention to their bodies. Don't ignore anything. One good thing about that essay I wrote, I've heard back from a lot of people saying that they are now going to go ahead and have that mammogram they hadn't bothered to schedule or that they'd put off. And I think that we should all be paying attention for that.
That's why we share our stories. There's power in doing that. Athena, you're my shiro. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for writing this article and coming on to talk to us about it. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Michaela. Thanks for helping me spread awareness.
Absolutely. So this leads to a question that begs answering. Why is the disease so deadly within the African-American community? I met this incredible woman recently, Dr. Robina Smith, a breast cancer surgeon, and you have made it your life's goal. You stopped me and said, Michaela, breast cancer rates in women is going up in African-American women. Why? I don't know why. Do you know why? Do we know why?
So the problem is it's multifactorial. So what we used to always say is that white women are diagnosed with breast cancer more often than black women. Okay. We know that when we look at statistically, white women are diagnosed when you hear the statistics of 1 out of 8 women, or there's a 12 or 13% lifetime risk, that's for the white women. For African Americans, we weren't diagnosed as often. We actually have a lower incident rate, which we had. And so we couldn't understand, if we weren't diagnosed as often, why were we dying more than any other race? And so when we look at the mortality and why black women are dying, it's multifactorial. Not only is it the actual cancer itself, the biology of the cancer. One thing we are learning is that a pretty aggressive form of breast cancer, which is called triple-negative breast cancer, that's when the cancer does not have the receptors for hormones, estrogen and progesterone, and for a protein called HER2 that allows for targeted new therapies. This cancer tends to be more common, twice more common in black women.
Really?
It's very aggressive. Tends to be diagnosed at a later stage. Tends to present earlier, so we do see this in women under 45 most often. Even after early detection, successful treatment with triple-negative breast cancer, it tends to be a cancer that comes back more often than others.
Harder to treat.
Harder to treat. So there's a link. A colleague of mine, Dr. Lisa Newman, has started studies over in Ghana and sub-Saharan West Africa, where we're now looking at genetic links.
To find out if that's a key.
Exactly. So one component is the cancers themselves.
Right, which you're looking into. The other component, it sounds like awareness.
Yes. So you have education and awareness. And then there's also socioeconomic factors, right? So you talk about access to care and resources and good quality care, and in terms of physical activity and being healthy and all the other issues that we deal with in the black community for all diseases, whether it's cancer or hypertension. But then awareness and education. We live with a lot of myths in our community.
And you're right on your website. What is the name of your website, by the way?
Treasure Your Chest.
I love that. Treasure Your Chest.
Yes.
You can go there if you have somebody in your family who is fearful. There's busting myths about treatment, about getting a mammogram, about the cost of it, all of that. Dr. Robina Smith, this is your life's work. You are out there to make sure black women particularly are not among the mortality rate. You're working on that. I am so grateful for your work. Thank you for coming in to speak to us. And don't stop stepping on that soapbox and broadcast that message as loud and as far as you can.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good luck with your research.
Thank you.